electricity to this cafe map that we saw last time out from Rogue. They could be a little bit too hot to handle, but Cavanaugh, they've shown the ability to grind results out, to go the distance and to get things done when it looked unlikely at times in overtime for them. But we're going to get right into this one. Cafe Dostoyevsky, Cowana, Rogue, Nomad ban.
I think the Cavanaugh social media manager's just caught on. I've just got my stats up and a notification came up saying, oh no, Desane's casting 8-7 then
overtime.
They're already in for the long haul. We may as well be as well. The Nomad ban coming through, as you say, followed up by Thatcher. A go-to standard ban. What I'm most excited about for Rogue today to see is, do they keep the same playstyle that we saw last week? That electric, aggressive playstyle that keeps teams off guard. It's very fast, it's hard hitting, and many simply won't have the option to be able to respond to it. It comes at you so much quicker than what you're used to from other teams. But at least here on Rogue's banning phase, Ace, it's going to be two very atypical bans, the Thatcher and the Mirror. I say atypical, more like typical bans. We see teams banning them away all the time, and the Valkyrie sure to follow. I'd put relatively good money on Mirror and Valkyrie being at least 75% of the banning pair that we see in EUL.
You're probably not too far wrong there. They've been extremely popular and getting more and more. So we're going to head into round one then. It's an interesting point that you pick up on, Des. You know, what are we going to see from this Rogue side? They're an absolute, pure, unadulterated shock and awe against Na'Vi. The only way to put it. It was undiluted. There was nothing else about that attack, and it worked beautifully. But as we said at the time, as Jess pointed out on the pre-show earlier on, you can't get away with it, or you certainly shouldn't get away with it. Playday after playday after playday. Cowana, they must be ready for it.
Say Playday one more time for
Playday.
me. Thank you.
They must be ready for it. Add it to the list. They must be ready for it.
It was the first thing on there, mate.
And prepared, because they may well get it. And Rogue are on attack to begin with. So Cavanaugh, they better be watching them doors. That's all I'm saying. We've got no blitz on the side of Rogue, and I'm not expecting to see them rush in. I'm not expecting to see them play that aggressive. But you better believe Cavanaugh are going to be ready for it.
I had a good chat with Leon over the weekend, and the kind of conclusion we came to was, how can the enemy team know what we're doing if we don't know what we're doing? Now, I refuse to believe that they don't have some semblance of plan coming into a game. Of course they do. But there are a couple of interesting changes, and I believe it was last week. I want to say it was you, but it could have been someone else who said, you don't see a Nomad ban and go, let's bring Gridlock. It's just not the done thing. Well, Rips is saying, screw you and your opinion on that one, whoever it was that said it. The Gridlock is here to play, likely getting tossed on things like Red Stairs just to provide a bit of back cover when the push does come through. Otherwise, I'd say things are relatively standard coming in for Rogue. And hey, we've seen that many a time playing together in a stack case. The yellow ping's coming in onto a man trying to be a rat on the doorway, and Prano collects, sorry, not Prano, he gets the assist on that one. It's Leon with the biggest freebie of his life.
And that is exactly what those sort of kills should be at this level. That's exactly how it should happen. There's no way on earth that Sloth should get away with lying prone at bakery double door and not being picked up on a drone and just gunned for fun, which is exactly what's happened. Nice opener for Prano, and all that Cavanaugh have done there is given Rogue a nice little nerve steadier, right? No problem. We're back on it. We're continuing, and we're going to go into this full force, and that is Sloth off the board. And it's a shame for Cavanaugh because Sloth had a very big game last Playday. We really saw him start to find his groove a little bit.
He was 14-4, I believe, which is a Herculean effort coming out of him after it's really been the Grizzly and Gorgona show. I keep on saying this time and time again. Last stage, all the attention would go towards those two players. But back on Thursday, Benja and Sloth were the two big boys. And speaking of which, it's the Thunderbird of Benja to step up and find the second kill. Ace is almost being decimated out as well, down to a slither of HP. And maybe Rogue's aggressive playstyle here is being tested a little bit as Cavanaugh are biting back.
Ace is back to his impressive best last Playday, and it's something that Rogue are certainly going to be looking from here. It's not going to be easy in round one, given how little HP he has left. He's going to have to play it very cautiously, unless he can maybe steal his way through a corner station or two, but unlikely. Benja just holding for the time being, looking to get that angle. He's going to drop away. He's just going to go back to safety. Crying taking a lot of damage as well, and Rogue are looking pretty beat up right now.
It's a really good play by Benja as well, dropping away safely, but acknowledging someone is likely going to swing him as he goes for that push back and manages to strike. Rip's going down. Look at those flashing health bars on the side of Rogue. Aces has been 2 HP for the last, 60 seconds at this point. Crying low since Benja. Rip's back up, but only on about 20 HP. This is looking like a pretty dicey round. A couple of bullets from Cavanaugh, and this round could be over. Aces pushing his way down the red stairs as we hit that 30-second mark. Grizzly still lurking around below. So whilst this 1v1 is starting to shape up, elsewhere, Prano is trying to think about the site, but they haven't droned out the man inside of pillars. Aces from on high does find the kill onto Gorgona, but Grizzly could still be looking to make an impact. Here he is coming upstairs. He could get a big 2k here if he sees the door, sees the one, gets the down onto Prano. That's the diffuser. Cold dead on the ground. Benja finding another. This should be the round done, and Dusty for Cavanaugh. Anarchic another, and Grizzly with the final shutdown. Cavanaugh playing it patiently, but in the end able to chew Rogue up.
Good first round there, as you say. They had the little setback with Soth getting picked up on the bakery door at the beginning of things, but it didn't slow them down. There was a point in time there, Des, towards the end of that round, that it felt like one well-placed impact grenade would have taken the entire Rogue team down. I think they only had about 30 HP between all four of them. They were taking an awful lot of chip damage through the round, and they were certainly clinging on at that point. But round 2 is going to see Cavanaugh heading down to kitchen and service, and they are avoiding that top floor. Looks like it's going to be a third choice site for Cavanaugh. They are not heading up to defend there before they've gone through reading and kitchen.
What you guys didn't see there was Ace was down on his knees and praying up to the heavens. There was like a weird, bright white light from one of the skylight spotlights in here, came down and shone on him. He was just like, please no more bar, because Ace is a pretty avid disliker of the bar site. It's not the best win rate.
It's not that I dislike the site, it's that defend.
All right, you dislike the win rate of the site.
I dislike the win rate for the defenders who then choose it as the primary site. That's what I don't like about it.
All right, I'm wondering here if we're going to see a setup inside of VIP. I imagine we will see him where the gadgets are going down, but we saw this coming out of a team last week. I forget who it was that was playing it, but we had a player playing inside of VIP, and normally the kind of angle is, well, chuck a bunch of grenades in there, a couple of flashes in there, push the player in VIP, and it should be easy to clear him out. So what more and more teams have started doing now is playing a player inside of the bar in restaurant. They're in a spot where they're safe from the window. Thank you very much for pointing it out for us. I believe it's Medics here in the last game. Seeing what's going on the brown stairs, off on the window. It's me, it's Medics. Thank you very much, buddy. You can see Anonymous One pushes down the brown stairs and you can challenge them, but it also gives you the option, if you're not challenged, to swing out onto the white stairs and kill the player that's trying to press the one in VIP. So it kind of becomes a counter to VIP, which then gets countered from the restaurant window, which then gets countered from the bar, which gets countered by someone playing on down brown stairs. And all these layers of complexity really start to build up. So how Rogue tackle this, for me, is going to be a real good sign of what they can do in the rest of their attacks.
Leon just aggressing in towards white stairs, tentatively behind the drone. Sloth, much better start, finds a headshot onto Aces, takes the Iana down, and 2 nades will go with him. So that is a big start for Cavanaugh, one of the star players from Rogue last week, struggling to get himself going at the minute. Leon just edging forward there to take out the Banshee. They, of course, now open up when you get close to them, and they have the opportunity to take them out.
Benja was the one playing inside of VIP, and he got cleared out pretty early, I think, by crying from the north side of the restaurant window. So maybe a bit of a cheeky peek coming out of Benja, not holding the angles correctly, has given Rogue the freedom to take full control here. The Yokai that can't quite destroy as it goes back up brown stairs. Leon almost losing his life from off down red. There is one hanging out just outside the double doors, outside a kitchen. Another one working their way slowly up red. So still plenty to be fought for by Cavanaugh. But like in the last round, they aren't looking to go hyper aggressive. They're just saying, let's pull back a little bit. Let Rogue come to us, and then we can strike when they get a little bit too close and a little bit too dependent on the clock.
Leon, of course, not managing to hit his shots onto the Yokai drone initially, will be stunned out by it, but I think he has found it now and taken it down. So that's going to be a loss of utility for the defensive side. But I'm interested in the Jaeger of Grizzly here. He's roaming around pretty much at will on that mid-floor. There's no mid-floor control here from Rogue, really. Grizzly's able to rotate up and down. They're not going too heavy with the vertical angles. To say that they've got Crying on side, we haven't really seen any use of that now. Grizzly's going to park himself down at the bottom, and this is going to become an entirely freezer-focused push by the looks of things, although Leon is moving his way down red stairs and looking to make a challenge, but I think Grizzly is aware of that, and he's going to lose that fight all day long as Grizzly manages to take the first shots. 4 versus 3 now coming into this final 30 seconds.
He's ready for an extra swing to come in from the bottom side as well, and it simply didn't come. Rogue seemingly not fully aware that he was hanging down in the space that we call Harry Potter. Indeed, he used to live under the stairs. That's exactly exactly where Grizzly has set up a tent here and refuses to move. Holding off on the far side of red. Rogue are going to have to be a little bit skinnier on this push. Try and push in as they might. Grizzly is going to find him, and they've still got Prano on site. It's all stations panic a little bit here for the side of Rogue, as Prano is the last one left alive. They've still got a yokai. They're evading the fights once again, and Prano needs to find a plant, wants to go for the kills, but Anarchic gets the easy shutdown. Round 2 also going the way of Cavanaugh.
Anarchic with plenty of information in hand there. Got to win that gunfight. The yokai drone has spotted Prano out, heading into Bakery Prep, so he knows the man's coming to single door. Just pre-fires it nice and easy to close things down. And Cavanaugh cruising right now against Rogue, who just are struggling to get an attack on the board. But this is their opportunity, Des. They're going up to that top floor where we do see attackers have more success than probably anywhere else on the map historically. So they've been through Reading, they've been through Kitchen. They need to get this one. This is quite an important round for me. This is quite pivotal. If Rogue don't manage to get the attack on the top floor and Cavanaugh have that complete rotation, then I think we could be in for a bit of a landslide half for Cavanaugh.
Really get the sense it's going that way, and this was my concern with the new Rogue playstyle, which, by the way, I will not stand here and say, all right, look, it looks a bit like Rank, therefore it's just bad. It's not. It's a very aggressive and fast style, like I mentioned. Last week at points, you could almost say it looks a little bit scrappy, you know, with how fast and paceful it was, that there will be the odd mistake creeping in. But it's a unique playstyle that they've acknowledged works for them. It lets the players shine. They're having fun doing it, and that builds confidence. You're happier taking gunfights. You only play better as a result. But the one challenge I always give to that style of play is what happens when a team finds an answer? What adaptations can you make? There aren't really any easy small tweaks that you can do to a fast-paced, aggressive style like that. So for Rogue, it's going to be about adaptation. If they cannot win on this top floor, the site that, as you say, is not strictly the best for the defensive side, they're going to have to think of something special for the next 3 rounds there to really make this work out for them.
Brian just being very careful there of the potential angles from the windows that could be being covered. He's got Bakery covered. He's got the Pillar's window covered. Certainly doesn't want to be getting peeked out early. Everybody getting up towards the roof reasonably safely. Cavanaugh looking to play against that rappel. Quite aggressive here from Sloth inside of the white corridor, just near Lumber there, looking to put a challenge onto Leon potentially. And as he comes back across, he's going to have to be careful on that upside down rappel, because the Jaeger of Sloth was more than ready for the challenge if the opportunity presented itself, and he's still watching onto that window. He's having absolutely no aggression from there. He's just trying to make sure that his man towards Pixel spot is covered as best he can be.
Still got Leon on this white window, which I don't feel like enough teams really press on either. Like, especially when someone's sat inside bathroom.
It's great for washroom.
Oh, I mean, fantastic for it, yeah. Absolutely fantastic for pushing inside a bathroom. The nades that you can just toss in there, you can burn someone out of there very easily. It removes a really strong power position. Aces, no idea that Anarchic is sat inside of the shop because of this mute jammer. They can't get it past. And surely you think maybe a spray comes through here, just in case. You never know. Mute jammer is gone. Anarchic still holding firm. When does he make his move is the big question, Ace, because he could find a couple of kills if he's patient enough here, because right now it's only Aces looking to press, but as they get more comfortable around top red, you'll find more players start rolling in.
This is the thing, as Aces gets to that single door, basically all Anarchic needs to do is double click. One will go through the wall, the next will take Aces out, and that'll be that, but he needs to take his chance. He's missed him. The Gemini, I think the Gemini claw might have just turned far enough for Aces to see him. Surely, actually, yeah, he's going into pre-fire. He knows he's there. He just catches him out of the side of his eye on the drone, and that is great play from Aces to get himself a nice opener onto Anarchic. Now Benja's downstairs, and it's just continually leading me to question this information and whether Rogue are fully aware of where everybody is. I don't think they know that Benja is active on the mid floor at the minute. He's got a nitro in hand, so he may be playing down there to try for some denial when that plant comes in, if it does at any point. But depending where the push comes from Rogue, he could also launch that up over the balcony, for example. Benja could be a real problem here.
Leon's still got 2 smokes on side as well, so they've got room to play around this. They've got 3 frags on side, so if they want to force and create space, they can do it quite comfortably. Nades inside of Freezer when there is no one playing inside of there, it looks like, means the drones haven't really got in the right place. Drop they will, but Grizzly out and towards Cocktail finds one. There's a trade coming back onto Benja before Sloth equalizes it back out again. Grizzly going absolutely nuclear, finally gets shut down from his rampage. Rips comes in, a 1 versus 1, steps in, and Sloth finds the 2K. Cavanaugh have 3 rounds on the bounce. And Rogue, they got to start finding these answers, Ace, right here and right now.
It's just feeling like Cavanaugh will not be beaten at the minute. Sloth in a 1v2 there at the end, still finds both of the men. There was a lot of trading back and forward going on. Rogue doing very well to keep themselves in it, despite Cavanaugh keep finding those kills, and that's keeping them competitive. But right now, they have gone through 3 defensive sites, and Cavanaugh can just rinse and repeat. They can just start again in reading, kitchen, bar, and they are going to be feeling confident to do that, because bar is really the only one that Rogue have come significantly close to winning. It came down to a 1v2 for Sloth, fair enough. Maybe that goes a different way if that happens again. But Cavanaugh right now, they are looking so comfortable on the defensive cafe.
They don't look troubled, is probably the best way to describe it by Rogue. And, you know, I think for Rogue, again, they're not really playing as aggressively as they did last week. And understandably, you can't maintain that pace on every map against every single team. But there's been the small little, like, misdronings throughout the rounds. Think about Grizzly again. Sat in Harry Potter, just upsetting Leon on the way down, who was looking for someone in case someone was there, but it wasn't droned, otherwise they could have got someone to swing him. Or in the last round, for example, an arc hit caught out the corner of their eye could have been a massive spoiler for them. Benja wasn't dealt with. The list just kind of goes on when you look at those things. So although they've got the right idea, and I like the pace they're playing at, it is leading to some small mistakes throughout these rounds that, whilst they don't always have the biggest impact, the potential for them to be a round-ending sort of, I suppose, disaster for them is what it looks like it's going to be. We don't get to go for the full site rotation, mind you. It's not going to be a reading fireplace start. We're going to go down to mining. Well, go down to, it's down from the last round, down into mining, and we have a couple of spicy picks coming in. I also want to see a castle. I like it. I like to see where those get rolled out. We've got the Goyo inside for a bunch of shields. You've got the laser gates and the Wamai for the kind of ADS level things. You can, of course, use the laser gates for that purpose, and Benja on the Thunderbird as always. Cavanaugh are a team that, across a number of maps, have really, taken to playing this Thunderbird Ace since their introduction to the pro circuit. Absolutely, and they've put it to great use. We can see there at the bottom of your screen the Cavanaugh skin that's been brought into the game. A nice beauty for Buck. There's been some crack here. We've said it a couple of times. There's been absolutely beautiful skins brought in the latest wave of share scheme skins. I've got my fair share of them, let's put it that way. There's plenty of those being rocked, but you just can't help it. They're all so beautiful. But coming in here, I think this mining choice, Des, we'll see as the next 2 rounds go on if Cavanaugh win this one. Honestly, I feel like it's to avoid another bar hold. It's if we go to mining, we can go to reading, we can go to kitchen, and we don't have to go up to top floor again. We've got our win there. We've had a good day. Let somebody else have a try. The thing is, this is a lot like a bar hold. It's a bar cocktail take with extra steps. It's often the way I come to describe it. I mean, look at the setup they've got, right? You've got the castle on the left side wall of storage, the laser gate on the wall there that you can see going into piano, reinforcements, Goyo shields, 1 in bathroom, 1 inside of storage itself. This is a very, common denial tactic to look inside a piano. Even reinforcing off the hatch if they do lose the ground and have to fall back, it's not the end of the world. But what this is going to do is force so much utility out of the side of Rogue that when it comes around to looking at the actual push into sight, working your way down red, for example, wanting nades to commit on site itself, you're simply not going to have any left. So I think it's really smart, and that angle is a beauty. Now, thankfully, that was a clone coming in. Otherwise, that was the biggest freebie I'm sure Gorg will have ever found in his life. Cowana getting a bit unfortunate there, to be fair. As you say, it's a beautiful angle that I don't think Rogue were aware of particularly, at least not that it was being played, and it is just going to be the Gemini decoy that Gorgona finds as it tries to move through. So they'll be aware of that now, and Gorgona still looks like he's holding that same angle. He's just trying to prevent movement into that area of the map at the minute. He doesn't want them having free movement into piano particularly, and that's to help his players that are upstairs in East, because once Rogue get established in piano, they can then start the steps to move and sweep across towards that East side, and that is right now not what Cavanaugh want to happen. Rogue just making a rotation here, Des. 2 of them heading over to the White Stairs side of things, try and move up the East side instead and go a little bit more Route 1 onto those defenders on the top floor. But right now, Cavanaugh not looking too stretched. No, I think Rogue are still figuring out the best way to push in here, and their sort of adaptation at this point has been, we'll forget about everything else, we'll push our way. Oh, why? Oh, that's a sitter for an R-kick. Can't be afforded to miss those ones on Leon, who picks up the entry in the round. Sure, a late entry, but an entry nonetheless. Now you've got Benja taking a sort of a contest coming through as Leon also pushes his way up White once again. You're wondering where that call would have been because they knew they'd lost what was going on at the top of White, but it's come back to bite them. Prano finds another, and this one should be the first Rogue round. And I'll dare say it, a lot of it spun on Leon getting those 2 kills coming at White that has given so much map control to the side of Rogue. Prano likely to stick this plant out, and there'll be 4 left alive by the looks of it at the end of this round for the side of Rogue. Sloth with it all to do.
Leon knowing exactly where he was, tracking him down and getting that one finished off. So that's going to be the round for Rogue. It gets them on the scoreboard, most importantly. We find ourselves now 3-1 to Cavanaugh. But Cavanaugh here have at least got an advantage of sights, I will call it. They're able to now go back to 2 that they've won. It will likely, as I suggested, be Reading and Kitchen. They had the opportunity there, having won the first 3, to just throw in a little bit of a curveball. Let's go to mining, see if Rogue are prepared for it. They were. We move on. It's not the end of the world. We go Reading, we go Kitchen. We expect to win those 2 like we did to begin with, and they take a 5-1 half. Cavanaugh are going to be looking at that now, thinking that is an absolute possibility here, and it's big for them. Let's not forget, these 2 teams are fighting with each other potentially for a major spot here. You know, they are both in the top 4. Even if this ends as it is, they both stay in the top 4. But you ask yourself for how long. There are, of course, other teams that are going to try to mount a challenge on that and try to get their way in there. You look at BDS, Na'Vi, I'll still say G2 for now, whatever's going on. You've got Vitality, you've got Empire, you've got teams that can all mount a late challenge.
And these 2, right?
And these 2, there's a lot of competition for those 4 spots. So this is a massive, massive game when it comes towards that top 4. Let's not forget how we've seen it in the last 2 stages, coming down to who's got the head-to-head. Who won when they played each other. It becomes so important, and we've seen it time and time again. So Cavanaugh right now sitting pretty 3-1, round 5.
Sitting pretty Cavanaugh, sitting pity, or pity for Rogue at this stage. Yep, only the 1 round on the board. You may be not locking in too much given it's the defensive side for Cavanaugh, who played the first 3 rounds excellently. As you say, kind of had their gamble round in the last round with the mining defense. And here we're back over to Reading and Fireplace, leaving them with a few choices come the last round on where it is they'd like to defend. For Rogue, it's going to be a similar start for Leon. I'll say start, he didn't start out on White Stairs last time round, but did eventually push his way up and found himself a 2K. Looks to be a similar story as it's an Arctic once again holding up here. And if I were Leon, I'd be full of confidence and beans that I could win this gunfight come pushing up White.
I would agree with you, but this time Anarchic has the SAS shotgun rather than the TCSG, and that could be all the difference that he needs. He's going to hold a tight angle there. The thing is, when you use those shotguns, you've really got to manage your position well. You've got to dictate how those fights are taken, because the last thing you want is somebody getting any sort of distance engagement on you, because that's when you're going to lose them. So Anarchic needs to keep himself tight against that wall and just force Rogue players to expose themselves to him when coming around those White Stairs. Now Cowana with a big start there, getting the kill onto Prano, and that's the hard breach gone as well. Aces takes a lot of damage, and Arctic does manage to find Leon, but it's a direct trade, and Aces meanwhile a headshot onto Sloth. 3 versus 2 as this is just turning into an absolute brawl. There's both of these teams just wailing on each other right now. Cavanaugh, however, have managed to get themselves ahead, and they've got a clash on the board in the hands of Grizzly. It's not going to be easy for Aces and Crying from here, especially not with the low health on Aces.
Not with the rappel coming in from the window into Fireplace as well. They've lost 2 players trying to push in that angle so far, and it has not been pretty. Grizzly dancing around the White Stairs. They had that trade coming out of Anarchic, and the other 2 kills, as mentioned, came in from the Fireplace window. So now for Crying, for Aces, it's about finding something that is going to work. They haven't cleared out these players on the top floor. There is still Benja holding up on this top floor, C4 in hand if it's required, and similar story coming out of Gorgona. So no great fear for Cavanaugh here. They can again play as they did in the first couple of rounds, a bit more of a patient game, and then come back to Sting. Equally, Benja punished for that swing.
Gives his life away a little bit there. It felt he moved into that challenge a little bit too quickly, I think.
Oh,
and there
Grizzly.
we go, Crying somehow finding the vertical kill onto the clash of Grizzly, and all of a sudden this has swung Des. It's now 1 versus 2, and Gorgona's got his back against the wall here. He is at a man deficit, trying to find one, cannot, as Crying hits him on the rotate, and suddenly Rogue have got got a little bit of momentum, 2 rounds in a row, and they're starting to bring this back. This could be a split half coming out of almost nowhere.
I mean, given those first 3 rounds, there is no way you look at them and say Rogue have any business bringing this back to a 3-3. But that is the way this is very quickly proceeding. We go down to kitchen service and kitchen cooking in our final defensive site for Cavanagh. And looking back at how it played out last time, remember, Benja killed in VIP very comfortably from the restaurant window by crying. That gave the east side control of the ground floor to Rogue very, very quickly. That should be patched over by Cavanagh. And for Rogue, they didn't deal with Grizzly playing at the bottom of red. He was free to sit there and spray through smoke and got himself Leon coming down red, as well as a player that was pushing up the side of bar. So some small things that need to change in this round, or Rogue might just say, well, let's completely change everything and instead push in from Bakery. They've got options available to them. And once again, that pesky yokai wielding Echo comes back along as well for Anarchic, who, dare I say, playing on something like this will be really valuable. I think the intel that you can provide out to the rest of the team now the clash has dropped away. Smart pick in my books.
Certainly could be. Both ADSs just going to be put there on the Bakery prep door. Interesting positioning. They're obviously going to prevent throwables coming in, but it's going to need somebody actively defending that Bakery counter, because otherwise, obviously, as soon as the defenders are inside a Bakery, pop, pop, those ADSs are going to disappear quickly, along with the corner healing station. Now, I'd be interested to see, I'm pretty sure the corner healing station, I'd be interested to see if it does reach out as far as the shield, because the diameter on it is reasonably limited, but I think if you're playing behind the shield there, whilst the shield's intact, you should be able to move yourself out. You should still have the cover of the wall there from the double door, so you should be able to get over into it if it doesn't quite stretch.
Not gonna lie, bit of a bait. They're always like, they look at you like, come on. Bit closer, come on.
You can just take that out. You can
Tiny bit closer, come on. And, oh, you're dead. That's such a shame. I couldn't hit you with the healing pellet, and now you're dead. I'm so sorry. They can be dangerous little buggers. Just keep a close eye on that one. Look, you can see how it's staring at him now, just ever so slightly out of range. I don't know if he steps slightly to the left, if he will get healed, like you say.
I'd say if it is out, it's a close one. If it is out of range, I think what he can do is step out of the shield, but the wall covers him from the double door. So he should be safe, but it's still a little bit of a risk. But they need to keep it from being exposed, because then it'll just get taken out.
Well, all this theorising doesn't matter, as Rogue have gone for a repeat with a take on the east side. Restaurant, front door and white corridor, their point of focus. Keen to see actually if the utility gets rotated over by Cavanaugh, or if they leave it all just instead outside in towards Bakery and say, hey, maybe they'll change their point of attack. There is a man inside the front, and here it's Grizzly coming on the flank. They know about the man, they see him there, but it's Aces winning that gunfight. 2 kills will come out of the 2 fraggers on the side of Rogue. Aces and Leon with 2. A good start to the round for Rogue. Maybe we are getting that 3-3 half we thought we might.
Well, we were expecting something special out of this one, and it's certainly starting to deliver. We have Rips and Benja trading each other out. That's the second time this game that we've seen a direct trade like that, with players killing each other. It was Anarchic and Leon the first time around, and this time it's Rips and Benja. Aces with a second on the round, just absolutely guns down Sloth in cold blood, and we now find ourselves with Rogue 4 versus 1. It's all up to Anarchic, shut down as Leon slays from about as far away as you can get. Look at the length of that angle as he shuts the man down, and Rogue, they take the round and level things up.
Didn't feel like a massive challenge that round either. I mean, Aces ran inside a lobby and 2 people challenged him from the same window. It was like shooting ducks at a carnival. It was easy for him. And Leon, I think, again, well, it wasn't Leon, it was Crying last time, but either way, they found a kill from restaurant window into VIP that let Leon get in and watch the long red angle. And Cavanaugh were just more than happy to, you know, dare I say, maybe push a little bit too aggressively into Rogue. In the first 3 rounds, we commended them for being quite patient, quite defensive, pulling back to site if they lost a man or not committing too much. But there it was like they were just so desperate to invest in trying to kill Rogue on their entry into the building without really having any control of the right areas for that map. So I'll chalk that one up to a scrappy defense coming out of Cowana, maybe a little bit panicked. Now we get to see how they fare on the attacking side. And Rogue, I guarantee you, feeling very good and in high spirits after how those last 3 rounds have played out.
A lot of smiles in the team there, and we've often said that a team that's having fun can be a dangerous team, Des, because that confidence goes up. And it feels like the last few rounds, Rogue, quite simply, have woken up. They've just shown up and started winning gunfights, started getting themselves into positions where they could pick up those cheap kills and getting in there and just cleaning Cowana up rather than letting them dictate the pace of how these rounds are going. So Rogue, they're going to be looking to continue that, although it may get slightly more difficult on defence because they're setting up and they're waiting for Cowana to play into them now. So just changes that dynamic a little bit.
Interesting setup. It's going to be a repeat of, well, how round one started out on the first defensive side for Cavanaugh. They went to Reading and Fireplace. A similar story being used here by Rogue. Oryx, I feel like every time it comes on screen, we're just kind of compelled, contracted almost, by Ubisoft to talk about the Oryx and the potential that it holds. The hatch-hopping hero that can jump up and down them as he pleases and can cause some real headaches if you do not have the flank watch on those set up. We'll see what damage Aces can do. We know that he can be a nightmare at the best of times, but here, more mobile and more deadly than most.
New hatch is going to be opened up by the sledge. We've got Cavanaugh established up on the rooftop now. Sloth drone drops down as the second hatch is taken out, and he's going to immediately start droning red stairs. Will chase Crying away, I believe, who heads all the way down to the bottom floor, looking to keep himself just off the radar there, off the grid, and Pulse playing underneath. Always a dangerous pick is the Pulse. Nitro in hand, heartbeat scanner as well, can locate any of those Cavanaugh players as they try to push into Piano, which is exactly what is happening now. This is an attack onto Reading Room, of course, on the mid floor, but as we've explained previously, they're going to want to take over the east balcony first and get the vertical angles into sight, and that's why Crying and Rips are looking to hold on to that. So Cavanaugh need to be particularly aware of Prano.
Particularly quick as well about this too. You don't want to get yourself stalled out on this top floor for too long. Here already we're down to about halfway in the round, and Ace is sat at the other side of White Stairs looking to burst his way up, I imagine, and challenge up White if Cavanaugh get a little bit careless. But as mentioned, we've lost 90 seconds in the round, and there's still no real pressure coming in onto the two players that are holding inside of Cocktail. The Flores drone starting to rain on through, will start to apply some pressure. Crying, not losing damage out to the drone coming out of the Flores there. That was more just unlucky timing, but has found himself now down to about 30 HP. Grizzly the one doing the work of that off to the side. But again, I'll keep on coming back to it, Ace. There are two players in Cocktail. They're both still there, and we've lost 2 minutes of the round so far.
Prano's also applying a lot of patience at the minute. Still has the Nitro in hand. He's using that heartbeat scanner to great effect, just feeding all this information in, and it's helping the players on the east balcony know that they are safe to just stay where they are for the time being. Aces from the top of White Stairs there, gets the kill down the lumber corridor, and a second for his trouble as well. Headshot onto Gorgona, and Aces is finding the same form that we saw out of him in the previous Playday, and Cavanaugh have taken big losses on the top floor and gained absolutely zero control for it. Des Prano out with the Nitro as well, just putting the fear into Cavanaugh now as Rips manages to find an Arctic Sloth onto Rips as a trade, but with 20 seconds left to go, this is going to be a big ask for Cavanaugh right now. 2 versus 3, make that 1 versus 3 as Crying finds Sloth and Rogue. They've woken up and they are ready to roar here as they look to close out Cavanaugh in round 7 and take the lead for the first time. It's all down to Grizzly. 3 seconds left to go. He believes there's a man on the top. He's shut down from underneath. It was Crying who actually dropped down, headed back into Reading, and then picked him up through the vertical angle. And what a defense by Rogue. Cavanaugh never got near breaking that down.
What makes me nervous about that is for Cavanaugh this stage, I have done nothing but shill their change in attacking form. Where stage 2 and stage 1, I'd always be saying, you know, Akanarkic would go in and say consulate for a plant, and they would get C4'd from below. There'd be long angles from bathroom contesting them. There'd be someone still inside connector, and it was like, boys, you're not droning this out. You're not planning it. You're not doing things the right way here to really get successful attacks off. And that's been fixed this stage. They've looked phenomenal at points throughout the stage on attack. But that round felt so much like old Cavanaugh to me, where it was 2 minutes in, the players in Bar and Cocktail barely touched. You're still throwing utility into magnets. You're still worrying about ADSs chewing things up. And really no threat because, again, there were 2 C4 players below. You had the Mute, you had the Pulse. There were just too many layers there they still had to work through the time available, and that's why you had that kind of mad flurry towards the end where there were still 3 players left alive on Rogue, and Grizzly was the only one left standing on Cavanaugh. Need to see this one be a little more pacey, a little bit quicker. Thankfully, it is Bar and Cocktail, so not as much to clear. But if you can't do these bare basics, if this round goes the way of Rogue, I'm very concerned for Cavanaugh throughout the rest of the half.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the big positive for Rogue right now as well, the 3 players that we're really expecting those frags out of and that we saw in the last Playday that really drove them towards the victory. Oh, Crying, Aces, Leon, and just look at their stats at the minute. 8, 8, and 7 between them. 23 kills across 3, and all just playing for fun right now. You can see it in the way they swing, in the way they get in aggressive initiative. They're happy to take gunfights, and they are 3 players that are very, very dangerous when that is the case. I can say firsthand how terrifying it is to be chased down by Leon when he's out there searching for you. Believe me, I had that pleasure, and it ain't a pretty feeling. If he's on his game and he's ready to find those frags, you could be in real trouble here.
I'm a little nervous for Gorgona as well. Now, I think throughout the stage you said, well, you know, Sloth's playing okay and Benja's playing well, so it doesn't matter if Gorgona doesn't have a bad game. The thing is, I found myself saying that 2 or 3 times this stage, and I've been one of Gorg's biggest fans. Like, I think he's a phenomenal player, and throughout stage 1 and stage 2 of the year, again, him and Grizzly were the 2 that you turn to on this team, and that's just... I don't want to say that's even worse. Oh, no.
I mean, that's not ideal. Sloth obviously dropping a nade as he was killed by Crying, I would imagine, is what has gone on there. And he's going to take technically a double kill for Crying as Sloth manages to take Benja down with a nade from beyond the grave. And as you say, Des, it's just like Cavanaugh. Things are going from bad to worse at the minute.
I mean, think about the drones against Empire and Bank earlier this stage. A couple of times missing. I think it was Dan sat on the Mozzie playing inside of Elevator, and we were like, how have you guys not droned this? That was another example of, you know, no drones being set up on red. Like, they were saying sometimes, oh, you know, it's just small things. We know that they're there, but we just aren't there at the right time. The timing is slightly off. That, to me, wasn't an issue of timing. That was no one watching red and just being hit on the flank by Crying coming charging up. Like, that's a, dare I say, schoolboy error, the kind of thing you really need to be watching out for.
That's it. You can't allow a player like Crying that sort of freedom because, as we can see, 9 kills on the board, and that's just going to go up and up if they allow him to continue playing like that, especially when he's on the Jaeger, because he's just getting his utility down at the beginning of the round, and then that's his entire job, to just get into the map and make a nuisance of himself. So he doesn't need to worry about throwing himself headlong into those dangerous situations. He will be flashed out there, but he's going to escape safely, essentially, as he does not get pushed. In comes another. He's going to find the kill. It's
again.
They just don't even know he's there. Just Grizzly running into the man there. Absolutely no idea that Crying was still on the mid-level of the stairs, and it's the freest kill he's ever going to get.
Cavanaugh are basically stuck boxing shadows at this point. They're chasing down Crying as best they can and can never seem to find him. And as I say those words, Anarchic does find one back, but you're in a 1 versus 3 with 20 seconds on the clock. This one's not going to be winnable. Rogue have now made that 5 on the bounce, Tim. After that 3-0 at the start, we were saying, oh, wow, Cavanaugh, they're running away with this. Now it's completely flipped. The table is turned. I'm sure somewhere Fresh is bouncing off the walls to know that he predicted Rogue in this game, but it looks like they might just take it.
It certainly does at this rate. Cavanaugh need to do something. They need to find a way to put the brakes on here, and you can see there's a few tense faces there amongst the lineup inside of the Cavanaugh camp, because dare I say, they just don't know what's hit them at this point. They're probably a bit punch drunk. Like you say, they came out 3-0, they were cruising, they were looking good, and then all of a sudden it's like somebody's flicked a switch, and I don't know which it is. I think maybe 2 switches have been flicked at the same time, Cavanaugh to off and Rogue to on. It's just completely flipped 180, and Rogue have just run away with it. They've done everything right. I've liked their aggression. They've gone in there and found kills. They're willing to take gunfights. They've managed to either maintain or to gain map control, depending which side of the table they've been on, because they've won both attacking and defensive rounds. They've just controlled this game extremely well.
They have. It's been a real transformation for what I thought was kind of already the end signs of their aggressive playstyle against Na'Vi last week that shocked a lot of people and got them the win. Well, here at least it's somewhat playing on. They got the 3 rounds back on the defensive side, admittedly not completely in the same style as last week, but it feels like it's their style. They look happy, they look confident, they look comfortable. If that works for them, you really can't knock it. But I do feel, again, that these attacking rounds so far from Cavanaugh have been very much their own demise. The lack of drones, for example, the slow push in towards Bar and Cocktail in the former round. It's not looked good, and entirely, again, one of their own demise. Let's see how they shape up in a kitchen service, kitchen cooking push. But where, again, I feel a bit nervous, as I said in that last round, Bar and Cocktail is the short site to attack. You get red, you get piano, you can generally start thinking about your pushing towards the site. Here, potentially, you're dancing around the entire map. You normally start top down and work from 3rd floor down to 2nd, down to 1st, and look for your execute. Even teams like G2 historically, back when Pengu was still playing, would struggle clearing so much of the map. For Cavanaugh, who are slow, who aren't great with their drone work right now, can you see that being fixed by them? Probably not.
Probably not, but Cavanaugh are a team that I think do, potentially rally well off the back of a tactical timeout like we've just seen. So we'll see what they can do. The Tachanka just in there applying the shield rips, potentially playing in behind the bakery counter. They've actually left the bakery wall soft, so they're going to have to play that quite, not aggressively, but actively, I would call it. They can't leave bakery alone, because if Cavanaugh get in there and get established, it's going to be absolutely free entry, especially with Gorgona on the Zofia, because that impact grenade that comes out of his rifle as his unique ability would make very short work of the soft wall. So in go the drones, something you've picked up on for Cavanaugh, Des, that they need to be improving upon, picking up on that information game. As we saw, they're just running into Rogue players a number of times, and they can't be giving away kills like that.
What I'm not sure, I was going to say for Rogue, I'm not sure if they were looking to play someone behind the bar, which they now are, and this is very easily cleared out as well. 2 nades coming through, none of them hitting the actual target of Prano, or just tickling him around the edges, but not doing enough to finish him off. They are really committing nades everywhere. The one into bar, well read as well by the Jaeger, backing away, crying that is, back in towards sight, and in comes Sloth, a little bit mistimed on the swing, but Grizzly still capitalises. Rips hits the deck as well, so actually it's a 4 versus 2 for the side of Cavanaugh, and these nades, they just don't stop ringing out, Ace. My God, it's like being mortared from miles away. They found themselves the 2 before Leon swings one back, and they're on a mission to save Private Rips here. It feels like, though, the man is down on the north side of Kitchen. They can get him back up. Rogue have a much higher chance of winning out this round, knowing what Rips can do and the kind of clutches that he's pulled out historically.
It really could be a big play here, and Aces, he goes big at the same time, finds one onto Grizzly, and all of a sudden we've got a complete 180 swing, Des. Rogue once again at an advantage, 3 versus 2, with the Tachanka back on his feet, so that denial of the Shumiker launcher is available now, so they can really grind any Cavanaugh push to a halt if they recognise where it's coming from. Now, Anarchic, Benja, they've got it all to do. We know they've got kills in them, but it is not going to be easy. We've got a stage, a bit of a lull in the round where Rogue are able to just reassess and start applying utility in and around the site. Anarchic, he does get challenged from the mid-floor, so he knows that there's somebody with an angle onto him, but he's going to have to dip away for the time being.
Trying to play this so carefully. They know the man's in here as well. Goes for the swing, and Benja does find it. Oh! Yasura is heading the crosshair, but it wasn't quite enough. Aces bringing down the new kid on the block, and Arcit left against 2 of the old boys. Leon and Aces, the ones that you want alive in a situation like this, you might argue, given how well they've been doing. Anarchic finding one. If he can pull this off, it will be absolutely magical and a massive saving grace for Cavanaugh. Trying to get the drones in here with 30 seconds on the clock. All he's got to do is spot Leon, but I doubt he knows that he's rotated over to take the hole that Anarchic opened about 30 seconds prior out towards red. In he comes. Will he try and stick off the plant here? And what is it that Leon can do? When does the play begin? He's on red, starting to move his way forward. Surely knows this one is going down. Must see the head first. C4 comes over the top. Here he goes forward, shoots it out. Got a swing on the bar. Sees Leon, but Leon wins it out on the headshot. Rogue taking yet another round. 6 on the bounce.
Unfortunate for Anarchic there. He took a bit of a pre-fire towards the door. I think he found a little bit of luck as he hit the incoming C4 that Leon had tried to deal with the plant attempt. It did all it needed to. He heard the rip and it forced him off the plant and into the gunfight, which is exactly what Leon wanted. Managed to serve him up a real treat from behind the bar, finish off the round, and as you say, 6 in a row for Rogue now, and they are just absolutely dominating this cafe performance ever since round 4.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Cavanaugh, it's all been thrown away here. The 3-0 they started with down to 6-3. Herculean effort coming out of the side of Rogue. Now we get to see how they fare on a reading of fireplace defense. Once again, where things kicked it off on the defensive side for them. It was again this very slow push up towards the top side of the map from Cavanaugh that really left us asking what was going on. Only 2 players inside of Cocktail, yet 2 minutes it took Cavanaugh to make any kind of push. And even then, really didn't get great results, Grizzly being left in a 1 versus 3. So lots to correct from last time around. And I've got to say, Tim, given how things have gone for 6 rounds in a row, I'm not convinced this is the round for them to make that improvement.
No, I'd absolutely agree with you. You know, there's nothing to suggest that'll be the case. We saw Reading back in round 7. It was a Rogue win. Aces opened things up with a kill onto Benja, and it pretty much continued in that direction as Cavanaugh were just completely unable to clear the top floor, if you remember. It was down to about 30 seconds left. They still didn't have rid of the defenders from East Balcony. There was just absolutely nothing that they could do to get control of that top floor, which we know is so important when attacking reading room. Now, Cowana coming out and being very cautious on their approach to the building, covering off all those potential peaks, but in honesty, Rogue haven't really tried to peek. They don't need to. They're happy to let Cavanaugh into the building, and then they'll take the gunfights when they do, because right now, Aces, Leon and Cryin are just unbeatable in the gunfights.
I'm curious about this as well, because I saw the Oryx earlier on dropping this down, I believe it was. The barbed wire at the top of red. Obviously, normally you'd see it on the inside, so when someone runs through the doorway, they are exposed in somewhat trying to destroy it. But in this case, it's slightly on the outside, maybe more as a sound warning, coming through for the Jaeger playing downstairs and Aces across the top. Now, what I actually like from this is the Rogue have kind of doubled up on the aggression, right? They said, well, look, if they're struggling with Cocktail, let's add in yet another layer. The problem is Aces turned his back to Sloth and didn't expect him to come in so aggressively. More a timing issue, I'd say, but still good work by Sloth to find one. The nade bouncing down from above finds a second, and maybe Cavanaugh have found that magic source. Rogues over aggression.
Here we go. It's time for Cowana to make a game of this now. They've got themselves 2 kills. They're 5 versus 3. It's Aces and Rips that are down. They've pretty much got the top floor control. They just need to force Cryin away from the white stairs. Out comes another nade. Here gets aggressive behind the blitz, just pushing in from Gorgona there and just forcing panic into the ranks of Rogue, and men drop one after another. 5 versus 2, and it is all going in Cavanaugh's favour right now. Prano's holding on to those white stairs for dear life, but Sloth, he's just holding his angle to prevent the push back up, because this is allowing Cavanaugh to do all that vertical work. Perfect timing from Sloth. Sees the nitro come up, knows that Prano has left himself pretty much undefended, and takes full advantage of that. 1 versus 5. It's all up to Leon. Can he do it? 1 kill. He needs to find 4 more. The diffuser's going down. Grizzly shuts him out with a headshot, and Cavanaugh, they get back into it. It's 4-6.
Surely not, Ace. Surely they can't bring 2 more rounds back and career this one through into overtime. Feels like the kind of game that deserves it, given the Cavanaugh that we saw at the start of the game and the one that we just saw glimpses of in the prior round. Didn't even really rely on the blitz all that much. A lot of the work came down again to the punishment of Rogues over aggression. Good punishment on the timing of Aces backing away. I'd say an unlucky time by Rogue, kind of in your acknowledgement of, okay, then we've pushed the boat a little bit here, we've been aggressive, now let's pull back. You get shot in the back on your way forward, Rips gets naded from Skylight. That's where the round really starts to fall apart from there. So I imagine on the side of Rogue, it's going to be a, look, let's not get over silly now. We know that our defense worked super well the first time round. Being over-aggressive punished us. So let's see how Bar and Cocktail goes out, which they did play just a few rounds ago. And that was the one where Cryin just ran up red and killed 2 people, if you remember. One being his own kill, the second one being the friendly Sloth nade that killed Benja.
I'm sure that they won't get away with that again. Cowana will be very aware of those flanks. They've brought the blitz along again with Gorgona. We did see some success for it. As you say, it wasn't sort of absolute down to the blitz, but he did get himself into the mix. So obviously feeling a little bit of confidence from that. Cowana have brought him along again. It's always a little bit of a risky pick. You never know quite how it's going to go. He's one of those operators. He's a little bit all or nothing. He either tends to go in, finds himself dead within the first 20 seconds, or will just run into the middle of them, flash everybody, create utter chaos, and win the round for his team.
It's like a Kavira, right? It kind of works the first time round, and you can surprise someone with it and be like, oh, no, okay, we've been spotted out by, been rushed by a blitz, unlucky, I guess. But I think once you're aware that he could be a thing, as surely Rogue are in this round, then you're thinking about ways to deal with that. You're playing more together. You're playing as a unit rather than trying to isolate yourselves. I think since his changes as well, the flash is only like 3 meters on it, so you've got to get really close to full flash someone these days. It's not as effective as it used to be. So, I don't know. I'm looking at this and thinking for Rogue, they must feel pretty comfortable and knowing what it is they need to do. As long as they aren't getting too aggressive as they have done previously, this round should go a lot better.
It's simple things, Des. You know, these players practice and practice and practice to be aiming at shoulder and head height, so that those first couple of shots are hitting heads. Once you know there's a blitz on the field, the first time, like you say, when he's just there in front of you, you don't always adjust for that. But now they're going to know it's in the back of their mind. There might be a need to shoot around foot level instead. And things like, you know, just little things like that will make it a little bit easier to deal with that blitz if you're expecting it at least. But That being said, it's still never an easy task. Gorgona not inside of the building yet. We're a minute and 10 seconds. He just seems to be very aware. I'm not sure he's quite best placed to be watching a window at that sort of range, if I'm honest. But he's going to have a go at it. He's looking for the potential peak to come on out, and if it does, he'll be looking for the one tap. As it happens, there's nobody playing in around there, so they're relatively safe. He needs to think about getting himself in the building if he wants to put that shield to any work.
Very easy to see in this one as well. The new Gemma set up on the wall. I mean, someone needs to go on the rappel on the other side to clear this one off, but you know, I touched on it before, the pace of the attack, not quite there just yet for the side of Cavanaugh, and 2 drones committed in. Do quite like that because, of course, it means both sides of the wall is essentially fully covered, and there's no easy open up for the attackers without getting rid of both of them, normally with a nade or some other destructive gadget on the other side. Do get nervous, Ace. 60 seconds left to play with. No one has yet died. Cavanaugh are making very slow inroads in towards the site itself, but still being challenged by Leon here, playing in behind a shield, and no real efforts made to clear that out yet.
Rogue will be well aware that the Blitz is on the map now, having challenged him a number of times, but it does show what the operator can offer. It's not all about rushing and flashing and getting aggressive. Gorgona just using the shield there to keep himself safe while he peeks around the corner and feeds information back in, but there come the kills. Leon and Cryan with 2 big openers at the same time. Grizzly and Gorgona go down. Leon finds himself a second in the round, and this is looking like it's Rogue's day as they go towards the win. They've got a 4 versus 1. It's all up to Benja. We know that he's capable of it, but this is a big ask against the Rogue that have been on point. He's down to half health. Who is going to find this kill seems to be the only question, and who else? It's Leon to find his 3rd in the round, and what a performance coming out of Rogue. They almost allowed Cavanaugh to break their stride at the end there, but ultimately it finishes 7-4. And Des, if you'd have told me at the end of stage 2 that I would be saying that Rogue have just moved up into 2nd place, I'd have thought you were mad.
Oh, Prano, the cheeky bugger at the end. He goes, should have spent more time prepping than posting videos on Twitter, officer. If you didn't see it, fully recommend checking it out.
This is the risk you take.
It's always going to be, but it is well worth watching Mr. Officer's video on Twitter. It was absolutely hilarious, imitating all the players of Rogue. But ultimately, as much as it looked like a great start coming out for the side of Cavanaugh, Rogue really turning up the heat in round 4 and showing them we ain't messing about. We want a major, and we want it now.
That is the message that has been sent there. There's no 2 ways. Like I said, coming out of that, if you'd have told me Rogue were going to be sat in 2nd after 5 play days, with the way they looked at the end of stage 2, I wouldn't have believed it.
It's absolute madness, but we're definitely not going to say no to it. When we go to, we'll go to a quick break now. When we come back, the analysts will break down that game, and we'll see you guys on the post show.